Breaking Bad. I am Carl. I'm like one of those people that's affected when I drink alcohol and when I do dope. And my sobriety date is August 22nd, 2014.
I'm Lindsay. I also seem to have an allergy to alcohol, and my sobriety date is September 6th, 2015.
And this is SoberPod, if you didn't look up.
Soberpod.com. Yeah, SoberPod, keep it authentic, no facades. If it's real, then you know it's ours. Welcome.
So SoberPod is a podcast dedicated to the idea that one addict or alcoholic helping another is crucial to building a life in recovery. Join us this season as we read from our books, 366 Effing Days Sober, and Lindsay's book, Spirit Vigilante. And you can get those by going to our respective properties, thespiritvigilante.com and soberpod.com. And as always, stay active, stay sober, and don't forget to tip your waiters and waitresses.
Always.
Always. So, Lindsay, what are we doing here today? How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. I had a good weekend. How about you?
Geez, I can't even recall my weekend. I had an okay weekend. I went to my improv class again yesterday. That was fun.
Cool.
It's fun. It's fun. Yeah, it's fun to see people getting together as a group.
Yeah.
I had to actually come home and get my ceiling fixed. I had somebody working on my ceiling because I had a leak, so I couldn't stay for lunch. But it was just interesting. I was like, oh yeah, that's what we're doing here too. We're we're actually, what I mean? To me, I'm always about the business, and then I'm like, oh yeah, they're gonna go to lunch. I'm like, oh, I didn't even really account for that idea. You know what I mean? I just didn't even occur to me. I was like, oh, that would have been nice. So, but whatever. So,
Yeah.
what about you? What kind of trouble did you cause?
I went to a Mind, Body, Spirit expo over the weekend
Ton of
to
trouble, just getting shit faced, huh?
it just, yeah, it's really cool because all of the health holistic people in the DMV come out from whatever rocks we're under and come to one meeting place. And so we had a table set up for our wellness studio, Haven 101, and then I taught a workshop about writing and awakening into spring and kind of embracing the new season. So it was really nice. And then it was cherry blossom weekend here in DC. So it was very touristy, but it's fun to see other people. I have never seen the cherry blossoms. I mean, they're all over, but I haven't gone to DC to see them. So it's exciting. Everyone comes to town and from all over the world to see the cherry blossoms. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Interesting. Yeah, we have poppy fields that go off every once in a while.
Oh, Wizard of Oz vibes.
Yeah, it's a little weird. So it's but it really causes a lot of traffic and just headache for us locally. So it's very pretty, but it's not that pretty. not pretty to take away my hours of life,
Right,
somebody else's
right.
enjoyment. Screw you.
That's funny.
So okay, so we didn't come here just to talk about our little lives and our little bullshit, but it's interesting to stay up with it. We do come here to talk about sobriety, recovery, and all those other things. But it's funny, isn't it? I always find it strange that we can talk about recovery and we can talk about our lives and all the other good stuff, but the truth is it's not always based around not drinking, isn't it? It's most of it isn't.
No.
I always find we miss a mark sometimes. We don't talk about drinking and drugging enough, and I'm like, yeah, but that's like a 2% of the actual problem.
Yeah, and that's why I tell everyone to listen to, I mean, whether you're in recovery or not, I think it can resonate with people just being human, like insert the word humanity, or human being for alcoholic. We all
Right?
wake up
Yeah.
and are human every day, and what are we going to do about that?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that being what we are is really kind of unique. Where we sat a lot of our lives out by drinking and using, and then once we kind of come to, we get this hyper awareness or engagement of life, and we get a lot of like well, for me personally, I got a lot of enjoyment out of like getting involved in life, and I was like, oh, this is cool. This is what I was supposed to be doing,
Exactly.
So
Yeah, like I get a second chance. Like this all just kind of seems like a bonus to me.
yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
I didn't think I would get this far, so I'm like, cool, okay. Round
Yeah.
2.
yeah. Round 2, fight. Um,
Yeah.
so as we read from our books, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? How do you want this to happen?
You can go first. I like how yours is very organized and kind of sets the pace for the theme.
For the topic. So in this topic, as you may have heard, ex-party people, the topic is Breaking Bad, and it has a lead in because there's an acronym that I wrote in this.
We love acronyms.
Because you gotta have an acronym once in a while to just remember shit. I guess I'm gonna read this, and then I do want to actually touch on like a lot about like who I was before recovery, because this, what you're about to hear, is really me again, 8 years into recovery. It's very positive. I think we were talking a little bit before the show started in the green room. We were talking a little bit before the show started about how like there's a lot of toxic positivity around like recovery, and like when people do hear some positive shit, it just sounds like an advertisement, or it sounds like you're trying to feed me full of shit, or it's just bullshit, because that was my attitude a lot before I actually found a new way to be. But so I do want to talk about that before we get into your reading, but I definitely want to do the reading first. So okay, here it is. March 31st. Some of us, if not all, spent our drinking careers in a stop and start mode. We were apprehensive, insecure, and hesitant to do anything outside our comfort zones. Staying the same was the status quo, and it was fucking preferable. But with it comes a false sense of security and comfort. No confrontations or agitations. We feel secure, and we may well be, but we are certainly not growing. And you know what they say, if you're not growing, you're going. So don't do that shit in recovery. Break out of your comfort zone and do some different shit. Be bad, B.A.D. Be bold, be audacious, and be daring. The reason that SoberPod.com even exists is because of this attitude, this newfound philosophy of fuck it, click submit, the idea of going ugly early and just letting your freak flag fly no matter how it looks to others. Reflections. Can you let your freak flag fly? Are you going to be B.A.D. or bad from now on, bold, audacious, and daring? Can you fuck it and click submit? Daily challenge. Whatever you have been holding back doing, start that shit today. Your business, fixing up around the house, that particular project or craft, start doing that shit. So I do want to touch on the reading, which is me before recovery. I just want to give you like a little. So this is me 8 years in, what I just read, right? But me before recovery, like if I was going to rewrite this shit, it would be like, hey, do you have a ton of projects that you've started and never finished? Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you have restless energy and feel like you should be doing something but don't know where to begin? It's like, I was distracted. I was reactionary. I didn't have a purpose or a direction that I was headed into. I had no guidance, and I once heard a speaker talk. It said like this: it's like, I am like a dog running on linoleum, right? All action and going nowhere. I just that's exactly what I was all the time, and that busyness appeared like I was doing shit. Because I was ambitious, don't get me wrong. Like I was totally ambitious. But was I are all my plans scribbled on bar napkins, just, getting, soaked up by the vodka? You know what I mean? It's like, that's the idea. That's what my whole life was. It's like, I would have a big fucking idea at about, I don't know, about 5:30 on a Tuesday night, right? And then by 11:30, that napkin hits the floor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's
covered in Chex Mix.
Yeah, the bartender's already grabbed it. You thrown it away. That's exactly what it felt like. So that's kind of why I started this writing, because I was like, you know what, like, when I got sober, it was a completely different ballgame. It's like I didn't understand it at the time, but I was really moving towards more purpose, organization, action and results, and things that I had never seen in my entire life, like especially as it related to my personal endeavors. Work was different. I always had a boss or a manager or somebody trying to, pull the reins and, whatever, keep me focused. But never on a personal level did I ever achieve anything like I have today. And that is just kind of the weirdness of that, right? Because you got to go like, I feel like I'm the same person, but you know what I mean? Like, so what happened? Where was the difference, So, Lindsey, what about you and your experience? I know you had we talked about areas of your book where you had that kind of same action going on.
Yeah, it's so funny because I just had a conversation this weekend and posted something about being busy and how I'm trying to take that out of my vocabulary, because I really do try to choose every part of my day intentionally. And so I'm not too busy for anything if I want to make time for it. So yeah, maybe I'm prioritizing other things right now. But when I felt so busy in my past life, meaning drinking and just running around, I was doing a lot of things, but I wasn't doing anything or being anything meaningful. It was like a hamster wheel. And so it wasn't until I got off that hamster wheel and slowed down to a halt when I could really look around and say, okay, what do I want to do? And it's crazy because I'm now doing more than I ever have. There's more going on than there ever have been in great ways, but I don't feel busy because I'm doing it mindfully. And it's hard to explain if you haven't experienced both of those feelings. But yeah, I think kind of with your status quo thing, staying the same was really felt busier because I had to do a lot of things and see a lot of people and have a lot of appointments to feel productive, because I felt like I was so busy and so important, but I wasn't actually. But at the end of the day, what was I producing? What was I putting out into the world?
Exactly. What was the result of it all? It's yeah. For me, I think I was really busy just trying to get everything done so I could go drink. That was kind of the idea. I was really, I really had to get hurried about getting alcohol in my system.
Mm-hmm.
So,
exactly.
So, do me a favor. Read your portion of your book. I want to get your take on this.
Yeah, so shifting back to the be bold, be audacious, be daring. I think that we have a lot of fear, and it's warranted. I understand we're scared of stepping out of our comfort zone for a lot of reasons. Shame, ostracization. We don't want to be alone. We don't want to feel like we've been, denied by society, because that's unsafe. And so we think about doing a lot of things and then we end up not doing them. And so once I got sober and realized it didn't feel like a choice to me. I couldn't keep going on the hamster wheel. Like, I just got very sick and it was not right for me. I was trying to fit a mold my whole life. And that's when I realized, like, oh, okay, that's why I drank so much. I just don't. I'm trying to be somebody who I'm not. And maybe other people feel that way too, but it felt like I was reading from a script that I didn't write. And so then I had to delete the whole thing and start over, which felt very uncomfortable, but it, like I said, it didn't feel like a choice. I had to do it. And
You mean
so
delete
I
like your whole almost existence, like your whole personality?
pretty
Like,
much, I
you're the
mean,
essence
like,
of who you are, kind of a thing, right?
yeah, well, I had to delete everything that I wasn't to find the essence of who I am, right? Because it was always there, but I had to remember and go back to it and delete all of these false scripts or false narratives that never really were true, but just what I thought for some reason based on
I know
my
exactly what you
perception.
mean. Yeah, I know
You
exactly
do?
what you mean. Yeah, because I did my first
Okay.
step. When I did my first step, I remember like I listed it all out, and you have it. So if you guys don't know, in 12 steps, you do this. You list like you're basically like everything how they describe it in layman's terms. You just list everything that makes you angry or pissed off, right? And so you just kind of go
Yeah.
down this list,
Yeah.
and so you kind of you put all the people there, and you put all the things that they've done, and because all those fuckers, and then so you list it all, and I remember going down this list, and I was just like, that's it. Like I thought I was worse than what was
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
paper. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like I thought I was a real piece of shit, but as I looked down the list, I was like, I don't really see it. Like if I was to look at somebody else with this
Like
stuff,
so.
I'd be like, and
Yeah.
like you know what I mean? Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really weird. It was really weird to be able to see it like in black and white, and I was like, such an eye opener to be able to like have that little moment of like, oh, I'm really not that bad, and I didn't understand that.
Which for me was humbling. It was reassuring in a way, but then also was like, oh, I'm not that bad,
Yeah.
because I had been telling me that story for so long that I was just, they say terminally exceptional or
Yeah, terminally
chronically
unique.
unique.
Yeah,
Yeah, terminally unique, chronically, whatever. And I'm like, oh, I'm not that bad. And that to me was like, I'm not that different, and so I had to kind of see that we all feel a certain way, we just don't talk about it, which is why vulnerability is so important to me and all the things that we're doing and spreading this awareness. So there's a quote by Mark Twain, and he says, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did. So when we're talking about being bold, being audacious, clicking submit, do it. Whatever you're thinking, whatever is in your head right now as we're having this conversation, just do it. Because as he said, you'll regret
Except if it's illegal, just FYI.
except if it's illegal. And I had to get to, when I say all of this, and I have a section in my book called Leap, and it talks about these quote unquote soul risks. I had to get to a place of stability before I could realize what was actually a soul risk versus an escape route or fleeing from something. So I needed to leap towards something and not be fleeing from something. So there's a big difference.
That's a really good difference. Yeah, that's really solid.
Yeah, because there's a difference between like intuition and impulse, right? So I would life is just such a paradox, right? I'm like, stay stable, but then also do something completely out of your comfort zone. So that's well, you just need to read my book. That'll help you figure everything out.
Oh yeah,
But
great. Now you left me hanging.
no. No, I'm trying to figure out which where to go with this. So here we go. I looked at the bold navy blue letters that popped up on the screen. Your itinerary for your upcoming trip. Takeoff July 4th, 2017, 8 a.m. My Independence Day. I did it. I had a one-way ticket to St. Croix in the Virgin Islands and 3 months to figure out the rest. A shift happened in the moment I booked that flight. I became a pathfinder instead of a path follower. I wasn't struck by lightning nor a groundbreaking epiphany. The work had been happening behind the scenes for some time. We can't go from rock bottom to surging full force toward a major life transition. When I first surrendered to a higher power and admitted I couldn't control my drinking, I didn't suddenly decide I should move to St. Croix. I wasn't thinking about moving anywhere. I was just trying to get through the day. This point of awakening happened after I had a year and a half of sobriety and self-discovery under my belt, but it had probably been set in motion years before that, as I faced many obstacles along the way. Yeah, I'll stop there. So that kind of tells you that maybe right now the bold and audacious and daring move is to start building that foundation and trusting sobriety, because maybe that's where you are, and maybe that's something you've never done before. Maybe that's your click submit. So it can look different for everyone depending on where you are in your journey.
Yeah, I think that decision that you make to go to wherever, doesn't matter. It's a decision.
Doesn't
right?
matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's and mine in the really weird, funky way was to start letting people know exactly how I felt. Right? Like I was just like, because I was so caged and and protected and not vulnerable by any degree. I mean, I was, dude. It's like everybody thought that I was an open book and you had to read it whether you liked it or not, because they thought that I was telling people. I had the appearance of somebody who was like outward and outgoing and all that stuff, but I absolutely was not, because I never really said how I really felt. It was all bullshit. So when I started to write, that was my big coming out, and I didn't even understand that was like, I didn't even know at the time that that's what I was doing. Other than this, it's like I was so afraid for people close to me to read it. Right?
Yeah.
I was like, because I didn't want them to even know that I was even writing like this. You know what I mean? And then the day that I went to check my my blog, and I was looking at the stats, and you could see the location where people come from. Yeah. And there was a lot of people around my wife's work, right? So she's a teacher.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh, people are like seeing and they making the connection, and I don't know if they're passing it around or what. And so I'm like, oh, great. I'm like, and I didn't tell my wife that I was doing this at all. And so then I'm like, no, well, now I got to tell her, because this is like, I'm sober again. It's so funny because it's like, I think it's in like 2017, like right around the same time.
Oh, funny.
Like right at the time you're flying to wherever where I am. Like, so maybe there's something to do with time frames, a year and a half, 2 years, whatever it is.
Could be, yeah.
What is that, 3 years? Yeah, whatever. Either way, all I know is I'm doing that, and I call my wife, or actually I text my wife and I say, hey, look, I've been doing this thing. I send her a link to the blog, and I go, this is what I'm posting. And I go, and I just feel like I have to do this. I just felt like I needed to do this. And I go, but if it's too vulnerable, if it's too revealing, if it's too much of our lives being projected, whatever, I'm like, I'll take it down. Just let me know if what you want me to do. But I feel the need to do this. And she just said the most beautiful thing ever, which is, she says, I really don't care about what other people think. I just care about you and what you need to do. So as long as you need to do this, that's fine by me. She goes, I love you. I don't care about them.
That's
and I'm just
so beautiful.
Right? And then being newly sober, within years, right? And just kind of trying to come out of my own little shell. Like, I absolutely needed to hear exactly that, because it gave me the permission to be able to do that. And where everybody else in my life would totally give me permission to do what I was doing, I don't know why I ever thought, you know what I mean? Like, oh, she needs to give me the permission or something along those lines, right?
We're always looking for something outside of ourselves for permission, approval, validation,
So when you get on, which is like the thing, when you get onto that plane and you're going to do that, like, where are you getting your permission? Like, where is the thing that's like allowing you to get on that plane? Is it inner? Did you talk to other people? Did people like say, Lindsey, don't do it. You're going to regret it. Or you're making a mistake.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Yeah.
I had people tell me not to do it. I had people say I was crazy. I had people say, do it. Oh my God, do it. That was very few. It was more people. I talk about in my book what I what I deemed as the American eye roll, and how just crazy people thought that this was, that I was doing this. And now when I do things, I'm looking for the American eye roll, because I'm like, oh, that means I'm on the right track. I'm on to something. If the average 2.5 children white picket fence person thinks this is weird, I'm doing it, you know. But I really had to get used to all the questions of how are you going to do this and how are you going to do that, and my answer was I am deciding the why I'm doing it. That's more important to me than the how. And the universe, God, whatever, will help me with the how. And I just had to trust that. And my dad was not a fan of it, surprisingly, right? That his daughter's just going to move to an island where she knows nobody. And obviously very well intentioned. Did not want me to go.
I mean, it does sound a little bit like a Lifetime movie, honestly.
It's giving like Aruba. Yeah. It's giving like a
could go bad or it could go good. It just depends.
Where someone got missing. I don't know her name, and I don't want to disrespect her in a joke. But yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So totally. And I don't know where this came from, because this is not how I was raised. This is not anything that was, representative of my attitude before this. But I told my dad and my brothers, who had choice words to say about it. I said, I'm doing this, and if you want to support me, because you all are way smarter than me in a lot of ways, and if you want to support me logistically, and that's great. But if you have anything else negative to say about it, I don't want to hear it. Like, that is not me speaking to my father and my brothers, because I'm the oldest. I've set the example. I lived by the book. I graduated from University of Maryland on time, and then I got a job with the federal. Like, I checked all the boxes. Like, in the superlatives in high school and middle school, I was not voted most likely to break the rules and move to an island, like that. If you had a lineup of 10 people, I am not the one you're choosing for that. So what gave me that permission? It was just something, it was internal, and building that foundation, that strength from having a relationship with a higher power, I believe. And that's why I say it wasn't the first thing I thought to do when I got sober. I was just trying to, like I said, the bold choice when I got sober was to get sober. Let's try that. That was revolutionary at that time. And then I started to develop comfort in that and needed another way to step outside of my comfort zone. So I heard there was such a spectrum of input and advice and suggestion during that time. And I just had to, it sounds so silly, talk about toxic positivity, but I really had to listen to my heart. It's the only way I know how to explain it. Yeah.
How do you relate that to recovery? So, for instance, like for me, I feel like if I didn't do the things necessary in order to grow, like I was going to relapse, right? Or I was going to, maybe I wouldn't see any benefit or value in, my existence, period, right? Like there was just like, so I needed to actually start to do different things. I needed to start to communicate. I needed to just again, get out of my comfort zone, all this other stuff. How do you relate that to recovery? Is it the same, or is there other things behind that?
You mean like getting out of my comfort zone in recovery, or
why is it important to get out of your comfort zone?
Why is it important?
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? Like, 'cause if you're not growing or doing anything in addition to, like, again, if I just got sober and nothing else changed, I'm still doing the same shit. I'm still, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I'm not progressing. I'm just kind of like, I'll just turn on fucking Netflix and I'll just, and I'm still bitching at the news every day. Like if I was, why does that matter in recovery? Why does it matter on a personal level? Never mind just even recovery, but why does it matter?
Because I think if you're not growing, you're regressing, and that every step and every decision we make is either a decision closer to our highest self or our soul purpose, our soul mission, or a step away from it. And so a step away from it can look like staying the same and getting comfortable in a place that's, it isn't comfortable. It's interesting that it's called a comfort zone, because for me, it's not comfortable to stay there. I just get comfortable with that discomfort of, because complacency isn't comfortable for me. So it might be called the comfort zone, but it gets so uncomfortable that the pain of staying the same starts to outweigh the fear of making a change. And I kind of have to take that soul risk or have to leap to try something new. But I don't know if that answers your question.
I mean, it kind of does. I think the idea here is that, if you're not, like, just the reading, for mine is like, if you're not growing, you're going. It's like,
Yeah.
you made me kind of reminisce, made me reminisce while you were talking, which is, there was a meeting I used to go to, is 7:30s on Tuesdays, and it was called What's Really Going On. And part of the initial readings of that meeting, I don't even know if they have it that way anymore, but it used to say like something along the lines of like, this meeting exists for you to share what's, kind of what's really going on, but what is taking you, away from a drink, or what is taking you to a drink. Like, that's what you're here to share about. And, because there's like, there's a positive and a negative side to it. And so for me, like, I needed to, like, why it matters that I'm like getting out of my comfort zone, that I'm actually doing things that challenge me. One is like, I'm human. Like, there's no other way to go about it.
Yeah.
Like, I am like, and I believe, me personally, that like, if I don't do those things, then I am literally just falling back into complacency, restlessness, irritability, all the other things that I've been distracted with before recovery. What I've gained now in recovery, like you say, like I had to write that blog. I had an intuition about, I needed to do that. This was like, like I almost felt compelled to share in those ways. Like, I was like, wow, but this is like, this is like, people will judge me. Oh no. Like, I was so afraid of being like, oh, somebody's going to read this shit and know exactly who I am. Oh, that was so vulnerable. Right. And I didn't want to do that at all. And, but then once I did it, it's so funny. It's like, nothing happened. Nobody said, Carl, like, that was terrible. Oh, no old ladies were clutching their pearls at all, and I was just like, oh, but to hide behind this mask or this affront and everything else was so like, it was hard, and it took a lot of energy, and it was something I didn't even like it. I didn't enjoy it, but I just felt
and
that
it was uncomfortable, right? So it's funny that we're calling the comfort zone comfort, right? Because it's like,
we should change the title of the episode.
No. I'm just now having this like epiphany of, in general, of like how the comfort zone is really can be misery. And we're staying in the discomfort because it's almost like it should be called familiarity zone rather than comfort zone, because there's a reason we got out of it. We're not comfortable.
And I desire something else in my life. And as I'm sober, I literally, but I don't know what it is. That's the other thing. Isn't that sad? Like, I think we get these new tools, and we get to operate this way. We get this awareness. We get this like, oh my gosh, like, I'm sober and I'm frolicking through the poppy seeds of life, and and the cherry blossoms, but we really don't understand from there. We're kind of like, we need to pay attention. We need to listen. We need to and I think one of the big parts for me is this self-discovery. That's kind of what it was all about. I think, I was in improv class yesterday. Somebody said something like what's one of the hard, like, as a prompt for one of the improvs, they were like, what's something that's hard to do, right? And somebody blurted out, self-actualization.
Yeah, exactly. Which is hilarious. The whole point of life. Yeah.
Yeah. And, but it's so true. So I think, like, one of the things is, like, if I don't move towards that, if I'm not trying to, utilize my talents, skills, and abilities at their God-given levels, and if I'm not maximizing that stuff, then I feel like I am, like, less than, I'm doing less than, that I'm not like, progressing, that I'm not, you're doing what I was put here on earth to do.
Correct.
And that is just such a weird thing. It could be so
cool.
internal, in this letdown. And I think that's why it matters in recovery, to answer my own question, is like, if I don't work towards that process, then some part of me is like, then you might as well just be fucking shit-faced, right? Then you might as well just be,
1,000%. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where if we have food and water figured out, cool, what's the next thing? Community, love, acceptance. Next thing, all the way up to the top of the pyramid is self-actualization. And so there's a reason that we feel that way. And I think what people get caught up on is, oh, well, I should just be grateful that I have food and water. And yes, you should. And I used to wonder, like, why can't I just be happy with what I have? I have all of these needs met. It's because once you have that, then you're like, okay, what's next? And so it's not wrong to feel that way. And we don't need to feel guilty for wanting more. And we were blessed with these things so that we could go higher, like take advantage of your advantage and do something about it to change the world, or whatever, change your corner of the world. So that's kind of what's coming to mind when you talk about self-actualization. That's why we are here, to experience and discover ourselves during this short blip on this weird planet spinning in the sky in the middle of nowhere.
more existential angst from Lindsey.
I know. Can you tell the theme? I've been dealing with this since I was 5 years old. It's stressful.
So, I guess one of the things that I needed permission, right? My sponsor. This is kind of like the positive side of like AA and community and fellowship and this kind of thing. Sometimes you sit in meetings and like all you can hear is somebody like bitching about their drinking or bitching about their family situation or whatever the case may be. But every once in a while you hear somebody share like, and it's always the quiet one, they hear somebody say, I got my, I just got my degree, or I just graduated, the 2-year program that I was taking, etc. And it's like, it's very small. It's, and the people, of course, everybody claps, does a little, congratulations, good for you. But the fact is that person quietly after 2 years, like did all that. Like that was like there was an effort behind it.
It's not small.
Yeah. And there was a lot of energy and effort behind that stuff. So, but there was a decision that needed to be made before that to go do those things. And so for me, it started with like my sponsor who, I remember, I was in AA and when I started to understand that I needed permission was when I went to this dude's house and I didn't like the dude at all, and I was telling my sponsor and he was like, "Who is it?" And I was like, "I don't want to say it, like because I don't want to, I don't want to like shit where I eat, and I don't, I just because he was kind of like, hey." Go over to this dude's house. I'm like, no, I don't like the fucking dude. and then he was like, he's like, and he was like, kind of quizzing me of like, well, why don't you want to tell me, like what it's about or anything? And I was just like, well, because because I just don't, I didn't want to shit where I ate. And he goes, oh yeah, I get that, I get it. He's, but I'll tell you what, he's like, Carl, like you have my permission to not like that person. And I was just like, oh, you know what I mean, like. On some level, I thought that I would be rejected if I stated that I didn't like that person.
Interesting. Yeah.
And it had to go down to like, it was early in recovery, so I didn't really know who I was or what I liked, and I really was afraid to like participate with my own opinion. And so, and that really matters for people like me, and I just did. And so that was kind of the idea. And then I understood that like, just even right down to like starting this podcast or writing the book or doing the blog or whatever, on a lot of levels, I really needed permission in order to get, there was like all these small levels of permission in order to get there, because I still needed that, because I still felt very unworthy, still felt like I didn't matter, like, whatever, all these other types of things. And I thought my ideas were just stupid,
Do you still feel that way? Are there any areas in your life today where
Every day.
you're still waiting for permit? What are you still waiting for permission for?
Well, every time I ask my wife.
Well, that's different. You always need your wife's permission.
Oh yeah, there's that.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, doing the improv stuff, doing comedy, or doing any types of things like that, going way outside my comfort zone. Right? I'm like, I'm always looking for like the. If I'm not asking for it, I'm always looking for it. Right? I'm always looking for positive feedback that says, "Yes, Carl, you should come this direction." So,
Yeah.
but it's really weird. The other day, if not like 2 days ago, I really kind of saw myself doing it. Right? For the first time, I saw myself like being able to, like, hold that space and do that and trudge that path. So I thought that was kind of cool. I was like, oh, I can actually see myself doing this now. Whereas before I kind of viewed it as like, oh, there's going to be a lot of hazards in the way or something. And now I was like, oh, I can really see like a path now to do that stuff. And it's very much like, just enjoy it, right? That kind of weird internal thinking. So I guess the question here is, or the ponderance is, how do you tell somebody, how are we going to right now, you and I, give somebody permission who is thinking about doing that shit? Whatever that shit is. Like what kind of permission would you give them?
Honestly, I would say you have everything you need. You can tell when I'm like deep thoughts and I start talking like one word per minute. So you might have to speed this up on the back end. But
Everybody hit your 2 times buttons.
I'm going to get real dark real fast. But these people that you're waiting for permission from, are they going to be there when you are on your deathbed and have regrets for not doing the things? And are they going to matter when you look back in your life and have the top one, what's been proven to be the top one regret of the dying is, I quote, "I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me."
Who said that?
So this woman, Bronnie Ware, she's an author. She spent years and years in palliative care and hospice situations, and she wrote down all these conversations she had with people dying. And her book is called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And so, I talk about memento mori a lot, which means remember you must die. And people think I'm morbid and I have skulls everywhere and stuff. And I say, remembering that I'm going to die is what keeps me, which is what informs all of my decisions today.
Yeah.
We try to put death in this weird little category, like, people are told you have 1 week to live and then they want to do all these things. And it's like, what were you doing with all
what were you doing this whole time?
You have hundreds or thousands of weeks that you have been so graciously given. What have you been doing? And so I always kind of use the deathbed test as my marker for decision making. And so I would tell the person, is that judgment or that whatever you're scared of happening if you make this decision, is that more important than how you're going to feel having not made this decision?
Yeah, the January 11th in my book is a page dedicated to memento mori, which is kind of
111.
Yeah, right.
Like that.
So,
111. Good number.
So you remember death. Use this mantra as you do the work you know that you're supposed to do. When you feel like sitting on the couch naked, eating bonbons, remember that you are giving that time to death too. Right?
Carl, we are like kindred.
Why? Do you sit on the couch naked and eat bonbons?
Yes. I was more referring to the memento mori, but then when you said that, it sealed the deal.
Yeah, it really drove it home.
That's on my Match.com profile.
Oh my God.
You must be kidding.
It's
not on
the
Match.com.
bonbons.
Sorry, audience. You won't find me on Match.com. I know that's a big letdown, but
you won't find me there either. So I guess what do you so we basically tell the people, like, remember death, it's coming, right? No doubt
What
about
would
that.
what would your advice suggestion be to our wonderful viewers who are wanting to do the thing?
Um, it's so funny. I think social media is kind of weird sometimes. There was a Facebook question. It's like, somebody, I think it was my brother actually a long time ago. Like he posted like, what are four words that you would tell your younger self, right? If you only had four words
Whoa.
to describe, to your younger self, what would it say, right? And I put, you're not that important, right? And it's like, because it's true, right? Because and it's so hard to get out of our own little heads. We only know our own perspectives. Our egos are so protective, and it distorts every day we get up. We tend to look through these two little cameras, and we see only what we see in our own little worlds, and God, we just think we're so fucking important. And it's just so weird to me. It's like, and there's a couple things which I stumbled across, and this was like a while ago too. Ethan Hawke, it was like a TED Talk, and it was like during COVID. And it's like, maybe like 20 minutes or something. And it's a TED Talk.
He's brilliant.
It says, why playing the fool is key to self-discovery. And he has this really good description about, like, I think it was like William Burroughs comes out and does some weird ass poetry or whatever in front of millions of people. And he's like, and then somebody asked him, like, why didn't you just go out and read your poetry? He's like, because then it would have been boring. He's like, but he came out and he did some weird ass action. And he's like, and now, like, people are going to go to work on Monday morning and talk about that weird ass thing that he did rather than just talk about his boring ass poetry. And the idea was to play the fool, right? Because life is so short, kind of a thing. And you might as well, because it's more interesting and it's more fun and it's more engaging, and it's like, so and so for me, that's kind of what it came down to. I was like, oh, like I can just like I can just play, like I can just do shit, and it doesn't fucking matter. Most of it doesn't. I mean,
no.
I think the idea here, I said this the other day, I was visiting with a friend and her family, and what came out of my mouth was like beautiful, and I don't think I've ever said it before. I said we break rules, not laws. That's it. Right? And I was just like, I was given permission, right? And I was just handing out permission, and that was one of the things I said. And then she actually repeated it back to me, and I was like, oh yeah, I did say that, right? We break the rules, we don't break the laws. So that's kind of the idea. I was like, you can totally break all the rules. Like, you don't have to do, I mean, as long as you're not breaking the laws. I don't want to do any jail time over this stupid behavior. But the fact is that you can break all the rules. They don't exist. They really don't. Yeah. And how you appear to somebody has nothing to do with you, because they're going to see you, and you are already a million different people to a million different people.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Everybody sees you differently. You show up differently for whoever, your teacher, the minister, people in your meetings, your wife, your kids, whatever. They all see you as somebody different anyway, right?
Yeah.
So you get to choose how you show up every time, right? And I was just like, oh, that was cool, right?
Yeah.
And again, you're not that important. So believe me, after you've left the room, you don't exist for some people. Like, then you don't, like, it doesn't, like, as much as you think about somebody else's behavior, trust me, most people are not considering you at all. Not even a little bit. Like, once you leave their vision, you don't exist. You might as well.
Because they're so worried about what they just did.
Exactly.
Or they just said.
Yeah. You walk into a room and you think all eyes are on you, and all they're thinking is like, is that dude looking at me?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really strange. So that opens up the door for so much, right? And will free you from all, I was a prison of my own mind, and I did not understand that that's who I was until until that mind was no longer intoxicated, did I understand that position. And so, but I had to start somewhere, and it starts with stopping, and then you can kind of move on from there.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what is that all the advice that we have for these people? Is
that's-
this all that 10 years of recovery gets us?
I'm just sitting here thinking of all the contradictions we just left everybody with. But that's
But it is let's just
life
say
is a paradox.
it all is, and it's contextual, right?
Correct.
And
Yes.
as you try to bring all these things into play, you're going to get some contradictions. Yeah, that's just how it works. So embrace the shit.
Is that your
embrace
embrace
yeah.
those are your now we're down to 3-word advice. Okay.
You're not that important.
Mine
Embrace
went
the
my
suck, actually.
my 4 words in keeping with my morbid anxiety, existential angst, as you called it. Remember, you must die. Don't. No,
Don't
that's
take
not mine.
the pill.
Oh my God.
I could just list all 4. Don't take the drink. Don't take the drug. Don't take the pill. Don't take the.
I know. But take the flight.
Yeah.
Take control.
Buy the
Take the leap.
ticket. Take the ride.
Yeah.
So many things.
Kiss the guy. I don't know.
Or don't kiss the guy. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what we're talking about anymore.
In my case, don't show your dick.
I knew we had almost gone a whole episode without you featuring.
My penis.
Yeah, here we are. I knew there was something we missed.
An inside story. Can I give you a little inside story? To that one?
Sure.
So I was drunk on New Year's Eve, 1995 maybe, or 6. I can't remember. And I got locked out of First Avenue in Minneapolis. Where Prince played. That place. And I got locked out. And I didn't have any money. I didn't have my ID. I don't know where it all went. It was inside, my buddies or something. I don't know if they were holding on to it. I didn't have shit, and I couldn't get back in. And I asked these dudes. They were walking by. I'm like, hey, can I get $5 to get back in the club? And they said, show us your dick. And I was just like, here's my dick. Give me $5. I totally did it.
I have so many more questions that I don't want the answers to.
Nothing else happened. There was no touching involved. But I did make it back into the club. Let's just say. Yes, it was the first time I truly prostituted myself, and I am not ashamed of it.
Wow. On that note, click submit.
On that note, there are some things you just shouldn't do. No matter how compelled you feel to do them.
Do you regret it?
No, not at all. I got back in the club. I needed to get home.
There you go. We regret the things we don't do more than the things we do. So there you go.
True that, homie. That's why I'm not standing outside of First Avenue waiting for somebody to pick me up.
You'd still be waiting.
All right, Lindsey. I do want to say there is a comedian coming on, so put this in your calendars. So for April 14th, we're not going to be together, you and I, but we had this little window where somebody emailed me, this Sam Miller. He's a comedian in this really weird way of how the universe works. That's why it caught my attention. I get this email of hey, this comedian wants to come on the podcast, and I am like, oh, that's awesome. So I'm going to be meeting him. Tell me if this doesn't sound weird. I'm going to be meeting him. He's going with his family to Disneyland, and he has a show in L.A. On I think the 3rd. But I'm going to be meeting him tomorrow on the 1st at the Disneyland Hotel to record me and him doing a podcast. Is that weird?
I wouldn't do the same thing you did outside of the club to get in that we talked about, where you showed something.
Oh, to show my
Yeah,
penis.
so I wouldn't do
So
that.
don't show him my penis.
Don't. Correct.
Okay, because that was the first thing I was going to do.
Disneyland, there might be some weirdness around that. But I think other than that, you're fine.
Okay, so I'm going to be meeting with, and then you can look him up. Oh gosh, I forget what his URL was. I don't know. Check out the show notes. His name is Sam Miller, and I think it's might be like Sam Miller Comedy. I'm not sure. Again, hold on a second.
He's on Instagram at Sam Miller Comedian, and he can also be found at sammillercomedy.com.
There you go, sammillercomedy.com. So check him out. So he'll be on our show April 14th, as we were going to be recording tomorrow evening in an undisclosed location at the Disneyland. Oh, there you go. All right, party people. That's it. That's all we have to share. That's where we are. That's where we're going to leave it. And if you are my children and you're listening to this, Daddy just told a lie.
No. Yeah. 2 truths and a lie. Which?
That's exactly.
That was the lie.
Okay. All right, party people. So Lindsey, what do we say to the creative connoisseurs of recovery?
I will say, trust your truth.
And I will say, stay active, stay sober. See ya.
Soberpod.com. Yeah. It was a sight to see him. Yeah. Breakfast with Sprite and Seagrams. Wrestling with my vices, exercising my demons. My blessings were blocked, so I never got the message. I'm stressing. I'm only 12 steps from an exit. Damn. Regret it, because my imperfections were perfected. I ain't run from it, I accept it and rep it. It's a badge to me. Good stories come from a tragedy. And when you survive, the glory will come in Act 3. The wait's over. 366 days sober. Morning affirmations that can start the day for you. Use my favorite bookmark for a placeholder. Finish when the day's over. Okay. Yeah, sober pod, keep it authentic, no facades. If it's real, then you know it's ours. Welcome.